Perception and control are at the core of how we experience the world around us. Every day, we are faced with a multitude of events, situations, and interactions that have the potential to affect our emotions, thoughts, and actions. However, the key point to understand is that we do not have full control over these external events. What we do have control over, though, is how we perceive them. This distinction between perception and external events is what allows us to cultivate emotional resilience and mental clarity. To begin with, perception is the lens through which we interpret everything that happens to us. It shapes how we see challenges, setbacks, and even successes. For example, if someone criticizes our work, the event itself is neutral. It's just words or feedback. What matters more than the words themselves is how we interpret them. One person might see this criticism as a personal attack, leading to feelings of inadequacy, anger, or frustration. Another person with a different perception might view the same criticism as a constructive suggestion, something to learn from or improve upon. In both cases, the external event, the criticism, is the same, but the emotional response is vastly different because of the differing perceptions. This ability to control our perception is deeply tied to our sense of control in life. When we let external events dictate how we feel or react, we give away our power. We become passive recipients of the world's influence, often swayed by circumstances beyond our control. For instance, if we constantly feel overwhelmed by stress, it might be because we are perceiving everything as an urgent life or death situation. In reality, many of the stressors we face are not as catastrophic as they seem at first glance. The moment we shift our perception, stress levels can decrease significantly. A simple reframe of a situation, from "this is too much for me" to "this is a challenge I can handle," can change how our brain processes the event, leading to a less emotional and more rational response. The connection between perception and control also involves the recognition that our brains are wired to perceive threats, danger, and negativity. This is an evolutionary trait that helped our ancestors survive in hostile environments. The brain is naturally inclined to focus on the negative because it prioritizes potential risks and threats to our safety. This negativity bias means that, left unchecked, we are more likely to perceive events as negative or harmful, even when they are not. This is where the power of conscious perception comes into play. By becoming aware of our natural biases and actively choosing how we perceive situations, we can reframe our experiences in a way that puts us back in control. For example, let's consider a situation at work. Perhaps you've been given a challenging project with a tight deadline. Without awareness, your immediate perception might be that this project is an impossible task, leading to feelings of anxiety or helplessness. However, by taking a step back and consciously reframing the situation, you could choose to perceive it as an opportunity for growth. You may recognize that this project will allow you to develop new skills, gain recognition for your hard work, or prove your capabilities to your colleagues. The external event, the project, has not changed, but your perception of it has shifted, leading to a more empowered and calm response. This practice of controlling perception doesn't just apply to work-related situations, it extends to all areas of life. From relationships to personal challenges, our perception determines how we experience everything. The power to shape that perception lies entirely within our control. When we learn to shift our mindset and choose to see things differently, we regain our ability to influence our emotional and mental states. This creates an internal environment where we are no longer at the mercy of external events, but are actively shaping how we experience them. Neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, plays a crucial role in shaping our mindset. The concept of neuroplasticity fundamentally challenges the outdated belief that the brain is static after a certain age. Instead, research shows that the brain is capable of change throughout our lives, constantly adapting based on the experiences we encounter, the thoughts we think, and the actions we take. This malleability is the foundation for developing a mindset that can respond to challenges, setbacks, and stress with resilience and clarity. At its core, neuroplasticity means that the more we practice a particular thought pattern, behavior, or skill, the more the neural pathways associated with it are strengthened. Conversely, thoughts and behaviors that are neglected weaken and fade. This principle suggests that our mindset is not something fixed, but rather something that can be molded and reshaped over time. For instance, if someone constantly thinks negatively about their abilities or faces challenges with self-doubt, the neural networks associated with those negative beliefs become reinforced. Keys. On the other hand, if a person consistently practices positive self-talk, reframes challenges as opportunities, and actively works to foster a mindset of resilience, the brain's pathways associated with these thought patterns strengthen. This process of reinforcing particular thought patterns or behaviors through repeated practice is central to cultivating a growth-oriented mindset. When we engage in behaviors or thoughts that challenge us, we create new neural connections that help us adapt. The brain learns from these experiences and adjusts to improve future performance. In this way, a person who regularly practices resilience in the face of difficulty can actually rewire their brain to respond more calmly and effectively when faced with stressors. The old adage, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," resonates with this concept. Through repeated exposure to challenges and actively choosing how to respond, we train the brain to handle adversity better. Neuroplasticity also plays a pivotal role in how we respond to failure and setbacks. People with a fixed mindset often interpret failure as a reflection of their limitations, something they cannot change. However, those with a growth mindset understand that failure is not an endpoint, but an opportunity to reframe, learn, and grow. The brain doesn't view failure as a failure in itself. It simply recognizes the need to adjust, adapt, and form new strategies. Through neuroplasticity, when we view failure as feedback, the brain adapts to improve future performance. The more we practice this adaptive mindset, the more ingrained it becomes, making it easier to approach challenges with optimism and persistence. One of the most profound implications of neuroplasticity in mindset development is the brain's ability to shift focus. Many people are trapped in negative feedback loops where anxiety, stress, and worry dictate their emotional state. Over time, the brain becomes more conditioned to react negatively to stressors, further reinforcing those patterns. However, through the practice of mindfulness, meditation, or simply choosing to focus on positive or neutral stimuli, the brain can be trained to focus on different aspects of reality. This shift can have a profound impact on one's mental state, reducing anxiety, improving problem-solving abilities, and creating a greater sense of control over one's responses to external events. Additionally, neuroplasticity is not a one-way process. Just as negative patterns can be reinforced, positive changes can be undermined if not consistently nurtured. For example, someone who has developed a more resilient mindset through deliberate practice might find that old habits of negativity return when faced with overwhelming stress. However, because neuroplasticity is an ongoing process, it remains possible to retrain the brain, as long as the individual commits to practicing the new mindset. In essence, neuroplasticity and mindset are inextricably linked. Our brain's ability to form new neural connections gives us the power to consciously shape the way we think, behave, and react to the world around us. By recognizing that our mindset is not fixed, but is instead a product of our choices, we can harness the brain's plasticity to cultivate resilience, adaptability, and emotional balance in the face of life's challenges. Emotional regulation is the ability to manage and respond to emotional experiences in a way that is appropriate, adaptive, and aligned with one's goals and values. It doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring emotions, but rather understanding and directing them in a way that allows for balanced decision-making and a clear, composed response. This ability is critical for mental well-being, effective communication, and achieving personal and professional success. Emotions are a natural part of the human experience, and they can serve as important signals about our environment, our values, and our inner states. However, how we respond to those emotions, particularly in high-stress situations, can have profound effects on our overall life satisfaction and success. At the heart of emotional regulation is the recognition that emotions are not inherently good or bad. Emotions such as anger, sadness, fear, or frustration are common human responses to external stimuli, and they serve a protective or signaling function. For example, anger can indicate a boundary has been violated, while fear can help us avoid dangerous situations. The problem arises not from experiencing these emotions, but from being overwhelmed by them or allowing them to dictate our actions impulsively. Emotional regulation is about creating a space between stimulus and reaction, allowing us to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. One of the most effective strategies for emotional regulation is mindfulness, the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. When we cultivate mindfulness, we become more aware of our emotional states as they arise. This awareness gives us the power to observe our emotions rather than be consumed by them. For example, if someone is frustrated during a meeting, practicing mindfulness can help them recognize the frustration early, notice where it's coming from, and decide how best to respond. Perhaps by taking a deep breath, pausing before speaking, or choosing to address the issue calmly later. Mindfulness also allows for emotional detachment, which is not the same as suppressing or avoiding feelings, but rather creating a healthy distance between ourselves and our emotions. Emotional detachment helps prevent us from being swept away by feelings of anger, fear, or anxiety, which can cloud our judgment. It creates space to examine the emotion more objectively and understand the underlying cause. This process of detachment is particularly valuable in high-stress situations where acting impulsively might lead to regretful outcomes. For instance, rather than yelling in frustration when things don't go as planned, emotional regulation allows for a pause, and from that space, one can decide whether to express the emotion constructively or simply let it pass. Another key component of emotional regulation is cognitive reframing, the ability to reframe how we interpret a situation in order to change our emotional response. For example, instead of viewing a challenging situation at work as a threat, we can choose to see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. This shift in perspective can dramatically change our emotional response, reducing anxiety or stress and replacing it with curiosity and determination. Reframing allows us to take control of how we emotionally experience situations, helping us to respond with greater calm and confidence. Effective emotional regulation also involves self-compassion. Being kind to ourselves when emotions arise, especially during difficult moments, can ease the intensity of those feelings. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with the same understanding and patience we would offer a friend. By avoiding harsh self-criticism or judgment, we create a safe emotional space where we can process feelings without getting stuck in them. For instance, when we feel disappointed in ourselves, rather than berating ourselves for failing, we can acknowledge the disappointment, recognize it as a normal part of the learning process, and move forward with a constructive plan. Developing emotional regulation also strengthens our resilience in the face of adversity. When we are able to manage our emotional responses, we can maintain a clear perspective, make thoughtful decisions, and take purposeful actions, even in the face of challenging or painful circumstances. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by emotional reactions, we can approach obstacles with a mindset of growth, finding solutions and learning from each experience. This resilience not only improves our emotional well-being, but also enhances our relationships as it enables us to communicate effectively, resolve conflicts, and maintain healthy boundaries. In many ways, emotional regulation is a lifelong practice. It requires ongoing awareness, reflection, and effort to refine our ability to manage emotions in an adaptive way. However, the benefits of mastering emotional regulation are immense. It allows us to navigate the complexities of life with greater ease, to foster healthier relationships, and to make more thoughtful, deliberate choices in every aspect of our lives. Cognitive reframing is a powerful psychological tool that allows individuals to change the way they interpret and respond to challenging or distressing situations. This process involves altering the perspective through which we view an event, thereby changing the emotional and behavioral outcomes associated with it. Instead of viewing a situation through a negative lens, cognitive reframing encourages us to reframe it in a way that fosters a more balanced, positive, or constructive response. It is based on the principle that the meaning we assign to events, rather than the events themselves, largely determines our emotional reactions. At its core, cognitive reframing is about recognizing that our initial interpretations of situations are not fixed, but can be adjusted. Often, we fall into cognitive traps such as catastrophizing, overgeneralizing, or black and white thinking, where we view events as either entirely good or bad, with no middle ground. For example, if someone makes a critical comment about a presentation we gave, we might immediately think, I always fail. I'm terrible at this, rather than recognizing that feedback is an opportunity for growth. Cognitive reframing helps break free from these unhelpful thinking patterns by challenging them and offering a more nuanced or positive interpretation. One of the most effective aspects of cognitive reframing is its ability to reduce emotional distress. When faced with an upsetting or stressful situation, we often default to negative thoughts that amplify our emotional reactions. For instance, if we miss an important deadline, we might feel like a complete failure. However, by reframing the situation, perhaps by recognizing that the delay was due to circumstances beyond our control or by viewing it as a chance to learn time management, our emotional response changes. Instead of feeling defeated or anxious, we feel empowered and motivated to improve. In this way, reframing helps to distance us from the immediate emotional reaction, allowing us to respond more rationally and less reactively. Cognitive reframing also helps with managing anxiety, stress, and depression. When we are anxious about an upcoming event, such as a job interview or a presentation, our minds often exaggerate the potential negative outcomes. We might catastrophize by imagining that we will completely fail and that the consequences will be disastrous. This can lead to paralyzing fear. However, reframing the situation can make a significant difference. Instead of thinking, if I fail, it will be the end of my career, reframing could involve thinking, this is an opportunity to improve my skills, and even if it doesn't go perfectly, I'll learn something valuable. By changing the focus of our thoughts, we can reduce anxiety and approach the situation with a more positive and grounded mindset. A key element of cognitive reframing is self-awareness, the ability to identify and question the automatic thoughts that arise in response to a given situation. Often, we are unaware of the biases and distortions in our thinking, which can cloud our judgment and escalate emotional reactions. Becoming aware of these patterns is the first step in reframing. Once we recognize the automatic negative thoughts, we can challenge their validity and consider alternative perspectives. For example, instead of assuming that a colleague's silence at a meeting is a personal slight, we could reframe by considering other possible reasons for their behavior, such as being preoccupied or shy. This shift in perspective can prevent unnecessary conflict or self-doubt. Cognitive reframing can also enhance problem solving and decision-making. When we face challenges or setbacks, reframing allows us to view them as opportunities to grow rather than obstacles that are insurmountable. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by the complexity of a problem, reframing enables us to break it down into manageable parts, assess potential solutions, and approach it with greater confidence. This proactive mindset fosters resilience, enabling us to keep moving forward even in the face of adversity. The practice of cognitive reframing extends beyond individual situations and can be applied to broader life perspectives. By continually reframing how we see ourselves, our past, and the world around us, we can foster a more optimistic and growth-oriented mindset. For example, instead of viewing past mistakes as evidence of failure, reframing allows us to see them as necessary steps in the process of learning and growth. Similarly, reframing negative events in our lives as challenges that help us develop strength and wisdom can cultivate a sense of purpose and fulfillment. In relationships, cognitive reframing can improve communication and reduce conflict. Misunderstandings often arise because individuals interpret others' words or actions through their own subjective lens. Reframing allows us to consider alternative explanations for others' behavior, which can reduce feelings of anger or frustration. By questioning our assumptions and choosing to interpret the situation more positively, we can foster empathy and improve our interactions with others. Focusing on the present is a fundamental principle in maintaining mental clarity, reducing stress, and cultivating emotional well-being. Our minds are often caught up in thoughts about the past or the future, leading to feelings of regret, anxiety, or worry. However, the present moment is all we truly have control over. By training ourselves to focus on the here and now, we can enhance our capacity to manage stress, improve decision making, and strengthen our resilience. Focusing on the present is not merely a passive activity, it requires active attention, intention, and awareness. One of the primary benefits of focusing on the present is its ability to reduce anxiety and stress. Much of the anxiety we experience arises from worrying about what might happen in the future or ruminating over past events. When we worry about what's coming, we create mental scenarios that often never come to fruition. Similarly, when we dwell on past mistakes, we trap ourselves in cycles of regret, which only fuel negative emotions. This can overwhelm the mind, leading to a sense of paralysis or emotional exhaustion. By redirecting attention to the present moment, we break free from these cycles. We recognize that the future is uncertain and the past is immutable. What matters most is how we engage with the present, the only time where we can actually take action, make decisions, and influence our experiences. Mindfulness is a key practice in cultivating present moment awareness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying full attention to what is happening right now without judgment. It involves observing your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings with curiosity and openness. Through mindfulness, you learn to fully experience the present, whether you are having a conversation, eating a meal, or simply walking outside. This heightened awareness allows you to be more engaged in life and less distracted by external stimuli or internal chatter. The more you practice mindfulness, the easier it becomes to tune out distractions and stay anchored in the present moment. Focusing on the present also plays a crucial role in improving decision-making. When we are caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past, our decision-making processes can become clouded. We may make decisions based on fear, anxiety, or past disappointments rather than clear, thoughtful consideration of what is best in the current situation. Focusing on the present, however, allows us to assess our circumstances accurately, weigh our options without emotional interference, and choose actions that are aligned with our current goals and values. It helps us prioritize what matters most right now, rather than being influenced by external pressures or hypothetical future outcomes. Additionally, focusing on the present can significantly enhance productivity and focus. When we give our full attention to the task at hand, rather than worrying about what we have to do later or regretting something we did earlier, we work more efficiently. Our minds are less distracted, allowing us to perform tasks with greater concentration, accuracy, and efficiency. In today's world, where multitasking is often seen as a strength, we may find that our productivity actually increases when we focus on one thing at a time. The simple act of being fully immersed in the present moment allows us to accomplish more and feel more satisfied with our work. Beyond work and decision-making, focusing on the present moment is vital for building resilience. Life inevitably brings challenges, setbacks, obstacles, and unexpected events. If we are constantly dwelling on the past or obsessing about the future, we may find ourselves overwhelmed when difficulties arise. Focusing on the present, however, allows us to respond to challenges with a clear mind and a sense of agency. Rather than being consumed by what went wrong or what might go wrong, we are able to assess the situation, take necessary actions, and move forward with purpose. This resilience is strengthened by the practice of mindfulness, as it helps us to remain grounded and composed even when external circumstances are uncertain or difficult. The ability to focus on the present moment also enhances our relationships. When we are distracted by thoughts of the past or future during conversations, we are not fully present for the person in front of us. This can lead to misunderstandings, disengagement, and a lack of emotional connection. By focusing on the present, we improve our ability to listen actively, respond empathetically, and engage more deeply with others. Being present in relationships helps us build trust, understanding, and stronger emotional bonds. Furthermore, focusing on the present moment fosters gratitude. When we take the time to notice and appreciate what is happening around us, whether it's the warmth of the sun, the laughter of a friend, or a simple moment of peace, we cultivate a greater sense of appreciation for life as it is right now. This practice of gratitude shifts our focus away from what we don't have or what we fear we might lose, and instead directs our attention to what we currently possess, both internally and externally. In this way, focusing on the present becomes a source of positivity and emotional balance, and instead directs. Building mental fortitude is about developing the psychological strength to persevere through challenges, overcome adversity, and remain resilient in the face of difficulties. It involves cultivating a mindset that enables individuals to push through discomfort, stay focused on their goals, and maintain emotional balance, regardless of external circumstances. Mental fortitude is not an innate trait, but a skill that can be developed through consistent effort and the right mindset. This process requires discipline, self-awareness, and the ability to confront both internal and external obstacles with determination and clarity. One of the fundamental aspects of building mental fortitude is embracing discomfort. In many ways, discomfort is a catalyst for growth. It is often the feeling we experience when we step outside of our comfort zones, take on new challenges, or push our limits. Developing mental fortitude involves leaning into these uncomfortable situations rather than avoiding them. When we push ourselves through difficult circumstances, whether it's physical exhaustion, emotional strain, or mental fatigue, we gradually build our resilience. Over time, our ability to tolerate discomfort strengthens, and we become less likely to be derailed by challenges. Embracing discomfort teaches us that difficulty is not something to fear, but something to navigate and learn from. Another key element of mental fortitude is delayed gratification, the ability to forego immediate rewards in favor of long-term goals. In a world that increasingly values instant gratification, building the discipline to delay immediate pleasure is essential for mental strength. Whether it's resisting the temptation to procrastinate, avoiding distractions, or staying focused on a long-term project, mental fortitude is about maintaining a larger perspective and understanding that the rewards of hard work and perseverance often come later. By learning to resist short-term temptations, we train our minds to stay committed to our goals, even when progress feels slow or results are not immediately visible. This long-term focus not only strengthens our mental resilience, but also fosters a sense of patience and persistence. Self-control is also a critical component of mental fortitude. It involves the ability to regulate one's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in the face of difficult situations. Self-control is not about repressing feelings or pretending that challenges don't affect us. Rather, it's about choosing how to respond to those challenges in a way that aligns with our values and goals. For instance, when faced with a stressful situation, someone with mental fortitude might take a deep breath, pause, and assess the situation before reacting, instead of impulsively acting out of frustration or fear. This ability to maintain composure in the face of adversity is a key aspect of mental strength, allowing us to think clearly and make decisions that are in line with our long-term well-being. Self-reflection is another vital tool in building mental fortitude. In moments of hardship, it can be easy to become overwhelmed by emotions or external pressures. However, taking the time to reflect on our experiences can help us gain perspective and develop a more grounded approach to challenges. Self-reflection involves asking ourselves questions like, what did I learn from this situation? Or how can I improve next time? Instead of focusing on what went wrong or getting stuck in feelings of failure, self-reflection enables us to process difficult experiences in a constructive way. This process of learning from adversity and using it as an opportunity for growth is crucial in developing mental strength. Additionally, cultivating a growth mindset is essential in building mental fortitude. A growth mindset is the belief that abilities, intelligence, and emotional resilience can be developed through effort and perseverance. People with a growth mindset see failure not as a permanent state, but as a necessary step toward improvement. Instead of viewing obstacles as insurmountable, they view them as challenges that provide an opportunity to learn and grow. This mindset allows individuals to approach difficulties with a sense of curiosity and determination, knowing that persistence and effort will ultimately lead to success. Building supportive relationships is another important element in developing mental fortitude. While mental strength is often viewed as an individual trait, the support of others plays a significant role in helping us navigate tough times. Surrounding ourselves with individuals who encourage, motivate, and challenge us can provide both emotional support and constructive feedback. These relationships serve as a reminder that we are not alone in our struggles and that others can offer perspectives and insights that we may not see ourselves. Moreover, leaning on others during tough times can help us maintain our resilience and reinforce our commitment to overcoming challenges. Finally, physical health and mental fortitude are closely intertwined. Regular exercise, proper nutrition, and adequate rest contribute not only to physical strength, but also to mental strength. Physical exercise, for example, helps to reduce stress, improve mood, and increase overall energy levels, all of which are essential for maintaining mental clarity and fortitude. When our bodies are strong and well maintained, we are better equipped to handle the emotional and mental strain that challenges can bring. In conclusion, building mental fortitude is a continuous journey that requires embracing discomfort, practicing self-control, and cultivating resilience. By focusing on the present, reframing negative thoughts, and maintaining a growth mindset, we can strengthen our ability to navigate life's challenges with clarity and determination. It is through consistent practice, self-awareness, and reflection that we develop the mental strength necessary to overcome adversity. Ultimately, mental fortitude empowers us to persevere, adapt, and emerge stronger from difficult experiences, enabling us to live with purpose and confidence regardless of the obstacles we face.